When you think of supernormal powers, you might think of Marvel superheroes, famous magicians, or even martial arts masters. But what about real historical saints? Did they really have superpowers? Let's find out in this week's episode, 7 saints who use supernormal powers recorded in history. At number 7, we have the Levitating Saint. So, who could famously levitate?
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Come on guys, no, I'm not talking about Yoda. In the 1600s, St. Joseph of Cupertino, while deep in prayer, reportedly began hovering over crowds. He experienced this levitation multiple times. Known as the Flying Friar, his gift of levitation surprisingly taught him to be humble and obedient. He was part of the Franciscans, a Christian religious order, and it was said that St. Joseph would levitate at the mention of anything holy, and only a command from his superior could bring him back down to the ground.
Get back down!
In the end, the Flying Friar was deemed disruptive by his religious superiors and was eventually confined to a small cell, forbidden from joining in any public gathering of the community. Despite being able to levitate, the Flying Friar surprisingly had a reputation for being quite stupid. It was said he struggled greatly with his studies. The best he could do was to learn a small portion of the material he was supposed to know and then pray that he would only be asked about the portion that he did actually know about. Sounds like a relatable chap to me. So the lesson here is, intellect might help your work, but a simple mind will help you fly. At number 6, the saint who gets help from his guardian dog. St. John Bosco, aka Don Bosco, the 19th century Italian priest, was said to at times be accompanied by a large dog that would mostly appear in times of need and whose dark grey coat earned him the nickname Il Grigio. In her 1885 retelling of St. John Bosco's life, Elizabeth Raymond Barker explained that the huge dog's initial appearance one dark night was sudden and mysterious, but that it quickly became the priest's trusted companion. Don Bosco had begun to cross a lonesome tract when he suddenly saw by his side an enormous grey dog. A first feeling of alarm was removed by the gentleness of the splendid creature, which, after gambolling around him, walked quietly by his side until it saw him safely indoors. From this time, when Don Bosco had been detained in Turin until after dusk, he was joined almost invariably as soon as he had left the town by his 4-footed friend. As well as being a priest, St. John dedicated his life to the education of street children, juvenile delinquents, and other disadvantaged youth. He later developed teaching methods that later became known as the Celsian preventative system, which, rather than being based on punishment, was based on the 3 pillars of reason, religion, and loving kindness. Il Grigio appeared sporadically throughout Don Bosco's later life and would keep him safe on lonely walks home. The guardian dog supposedly saved the saint's life from would-be assassins in an escalating series of attacks. But despite the attempts to end his life, Don Bosco would call off Il Grigio to ensure that his attackers never ended up as mincemeat themselves. At number 5, the saint who could create fire with his fingertips. St. Blaine... No, not David Blaine. I mean, David Blaine is pretty impressive with that buried alive stuff and that ice block thing. But anyway, the Scottish bishop St. Blaine, believed to have been active in the 6th century, is credited with several miracles, including lighting fires using only his hands. James King Hewison's 1893 text describes the initial legendary incident. One day, while worshippers were busy psalm singing, the fires which Blaine was left in charge of all went out. He, wishing no one to incur the blame of the saint, offered up prayer, whereupon fire sparkled from his fingertips like flashes from a flint when it is struck. While producing fire from one's fingertips is an amazing act in any era, for monks from the Middle Ages who were tasked with the long process of making a fire, this supernormal ability must have come in handy. Get it, handy? Yeah. Other miracles attributed to St. Blaine include healing a blind person and bringing a dead boy back to life. Not bad. Number 4, the saint whose corpse never decayed. St. Cuthbert, born in 635 AD, was a monk, bishop and a hermit, responsible for the spread of Christianity in the north of England. Brought up as an Anglo-Saxon warrior, St. Cuthbert decided to put aside his spear, inspired by a vision of angels accompanying the soul of St. Aidan as he went to heaven. Accounts of his life show that St. Cuthbert embodied the values of humility, simplicity, and tolerance. He is reported to have performed many healing miracles and was treated as a saint upon his death. 11 years after his death, it was discovered that St. Cuthbert's body had not decayed at all and seemed not dead but merely sleeping, a sure sign that Cuthbert was indeed a saint. This, along with miracles associated with the shrine, led to the blossoming of a pilgrimage tradition that was unrivaled in Britain for almost 500 years. Number 3, the saint who endows water with the power of love and turns bathwater into beer. Bridget of Kildare is one of Ireland's 3 patron saints. During her life of chastity and Christian service, she reportedly performed many miracles, ranging from the healing of ailing beggars to hanging her cold, wet clothes on a ray of sunlight. I wonder if she needed pegs for that. She also assisted a man whose wife had lost the spark for their marriage. Reportedly, the wife had wanted to leave her husband and no longer desired him. St. Bridget blessed water for this man to put in his wife's food and drink. After that, the wife was said to have miraculously desired her husband again and stayed by his side. According to the legend, though, this miracle may have come with a price. Later on, when the man had just embarked upon a journey at sea, he saw that his wife had followed him to the shore and, unable to cross the patch of water now separating them, said that if he would not come back to her, she would go into the sea that was between them. On the subject of drowning your sorrows, St. Bridget was also well known for her legendary appreciation of beer. She didn't just wish for beer, she also produced it by miraculous means. Various texts refer to the miracle of St. Bridget turning her bath water into beer so that she may better host some last-minute visiting clerics. Number 2, the saint who exorcised a demon with his belt. The medieval monk St. Guthlac was also a hermit. Numerous desert monks in ancient times, especially in Egypt, lived in deserts. However, the hermits of the British Isles chose small islands, shores, cliffs, sometimes forests, mountains, and hills as their deserts, as despite the dry humour, Britain does not have natural deserts. Guthlac was unique even for English saints, as he preferred to live as a hermit, surrounded by dangerous and impassable bogs and swamps from all sides. His spiritual labours and experiences, in all respects, resembled the life of the venerable monks of the Egyptian deserts. As a child, Guthlac was an obedient boy. He avoided childish games and pranks. He grew into a very clever yet innocent adolescent. However, with time, he changed very radically. He became more inspired by the deeds of contemporary heroes than those of the old times. It was said that at the time he served in the Mercian army. At the age of 15, Guthlac formed his own gang and, together with other youths, gave himself up to banditry, robbery, bloody raids on neighbouring settlements, and other horrible crimes. He spent about 9 years in such grave crimes until one day he suddenly remembered about the Lord, and a very strong awe and fear of God appeared in his heart. Guthlac was spiritually transformed, confessing and repenting his sins to God. He gave back all his loot to the people and called upon his gang members to do the same. After that, Guthlac started serving as a monk. St. Guthlac fought evil in various forms and was reportedly given a protective whip by St. Bartholomew for his use on demons. However, he also made use of his own belt when necessary. The item was said to be particularly effective against headaches, as well as allowing St. Guthlac to free a man from demonic clutches. Look, Batman bro, your utility belt might be good, but can it stop headaches and demons? And now, for our final supernatural saint. At number 1, the saint who carried his own head through the streets of Paris. St. Denis, the first bishop of Paris, was martyred along with his companions by the local governor, Sisinnius, during the persecution of Christians in the 3rd century, after they converted a number of pagans to the Christian faith. During the persecution, St. Denis was beheaded in Paris in the year 250. According to the legend, angels accompanied him as he carried his own head for 4 miles from the place of the execution to his chosen burial site, where later the Church of St. Denis was built just outside of Paris. Blimey, 4-mile walk is long enough, let alone while carrying your own decapitated head. So that's it. 7 supernormal saints who use supernormal powers recorded in history. Which one was your favourite? Have you heard of other supernormal saints we didn't mention here? Which supernormal power would you want to have? And would you like to hear more about any of these supernormal saints in future videos? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more secrets of the ancients.